Hello folks, welcome to this week's edition of the Satori Traders Precious Metals News. Let's jump right into the charts. We're going to start with a monthly chart of gold. This is a potential head and shoulders pattern, and we have gold filling out what could be the right shoulder of that pattern. Based on Edwards and McGee technical analysis, the price target from this pattern is 26.85. Based on some other techniques, my working target for gold in 2021 is 23.57. So late 2021, early 2022, I'm expecting a gold price of 23.57. In the daily time frame, as I expected, when gold pushed through the 200-day moving average, the uptrend accelerated. And so I was expecting an acceleration. Wasn't really expecting that much of an acceleration. So we've got some nice upward movement in gold in the last 2 weeks. The 1900 level obviously was significant resistance. I was quite pleased on Friday that gold was able to close above the 1900 level. Most of the day it stayed below that level. It closed on Friday at like 1902 and change. Obviously the markets are open again today on Sunday, and gold is continuing its upward trek. Target at this point, the upper median line of this Andrews Pitchfork would give us, 1930, 1940, somewhere in there. 1950 seems like the most likely next price target. It gets us back to this previous high, and so 1950 is the next target I'm looking at. Energy is still high. Obviously, we're still in bull mode. Now, we are getting overextended, overbought. This has been a big move in gold. We could actually use a rest, some pullback, sideways consolidation, some kind of rest at this point. Let's continue. Silver, this is silver in the monthly time frame, and I just wanted to show that, like gold, we do have a significant upside target in silver. In this case, it's the 39.88. This would be a 1-for-1 Fibonacci extension of this impulsive movement that happened in early 2020. So that's silver in the monthly time frame. Here in the daily time frame for silver, price is really being held back below 28. It's almost like some not-for-profit seller was keeping a lid on this market. But that's my bullish bias speaking out, wanting to blame lack of price action on manipulation. But for whatever reason, silver is clearly being held below the 28 level. I expect that when silver does break through this 28 level, pushes on up through 30, that we're going to see another acceleration in the precious metals bull market, but silver's got to get through that $30 level. I was looking at Bitcoin. Obviously, crypto has not been faring very well, in the last 2 weeks. This is an ugly chart. This is the daily time frame for Bitcoin. This, pushing up to new highs, and then this impulsive gap lower. So that was a warning sign. And then, price continued lower. If we were paying attention, we might have noticed that volume was rising as price fell. And so that's an attribute of that's an attribute of a downtrend. And so indication all the way back here that we're potentially in a downtrend. We got a little bit of a rally, and then the price decline picked up speed. And of course, here we have the last 2 weeks. So, and again, there's the volume rising as price was falling, which is not a good sign. Potentially, this was a capitulation sell-off. This big spike lower, we got a big spike in volume at the same time. But of course, all of this recent action is happening below a significant resistance level. So we can see resistance sliced right through. Bitcoin was bullish enough, it didn't have to pull back to this level to test it for support. It found support at a higher level, and we might describe that as a bullish offset. On the way back down, we can see that we briefly had support. That failed. Obviously, that level has now been tested as resistance, and Bitcoin has dropped lower. We can see that we're now open for the Sunday session, and no bullish signs yet. Actually, looks like we got, yeah, so. That's Bitcoin. GDXJ in the weekly time frame. This is where we look at the trend for mining stocks. Clearly that trend is up. All signs indicate that the mining stocks are in bull mode. Here in the daily time frame for GDXJ, this gold Andrews Pitchfork, that's new this week. And I noticed that this sideways consolidation, I was looking at it as a flag pattern. So here's the pole, this impulsive action, that's the pole of the flag. And then the flag typically marks the midpoint of a price movement. And so that bullish, that impulsive price move, that flag gets us up into the neighborhood of this target. Price has now waffled sideways and gotten to the lower median line of this gold Andrews Pitchfork, where quite likely we'll find support and next week see price heading higher. And of course, with the metals heading up as it looks like they are tonight, reasonable to expect that the miners will head higher next week as well. Same story in SIL, sideways action after an impulsive flag pole. That's the pole, there's the flag, there's the target. So mining silver stocks looking good. This is the dollar, and I'm keeping an eye on the weekly time frame in the dollar because this is potentially a support level. So in the daily time frame, it looks like the dollar's fallen apart, but we need to keep in mind that in the weekly time frame, we could be just testing this support level before a turn back higher. So in the daily time frame, what the dollar looks like in the daily time frame is a clear downtrend. These are, downtrend, counter trend rally, new low, counter trend rally, new low. This looks like on Friday, the latest counter trend rally that failed on the very same day. I guess you could argue that was 4 days of a rally, but Friday's candle, that's a very bearish candlestick on Friday. That's graveyard doji is how you might describe that in Japanese candle terms. So dollar's not looking good. Interest rates in the weekly time frame continuing to bump sideways, and yet the primary trend remains up. So for now, we just watch this, let it do its thing. In the daily time frame, again, interest rates just bumping sideways. After this big move, this is a significant increase in interest rates. It's not surprising. It's reasonable that we would see a sideways consolidation, a pullback, some kind of rest. And we can see it in the moving averages where, here's TNX way up here. This is the 200-day moving average. Really like to see the 200-day catch up to price action. And so this sideways action may be doing just that. In the equity markets, my perception, the equity markets are really struggling to make any headway to the upside at this point. Let me notice that we're getting these price overthrows from the 4,200 level. For whatever reason, this seems to be a significant resistance level. And yeah, price is just struggling. Let me get rid of that line because it's hiding some of the action. And so what I want to point out is that this action is kind of erratic. It's kind of gappy. If we look in the Dow, it's even more obvious. Let me get rid of that line again. So we can see here these gaps. Now in a bullish setting, we talk about those gaps and we might describe them as runaway or breakaway gaps, that the price action is so bullish that we get a series of gaps higher. In contrast to that, we can also see gapping behavior at the end of a trend, and those are called exhaustion gaps. It's where basically price action becomes erratic at the end of the trend. And I was thinking that this is kind of an interesting test of your bias towards equities. So I am a bear, I'm a perma bear when it comes to equities in general. And so I call these exhaustion gaps. This is erratic behavior at the end of an uptrend. These markets are struggling to go higher. They have no fundamental justification for going higher. It's strictly money printing at this point. And it appears that the money printing maybe not doing the job recently. That's the Dow and S&P 500. The Nasdaq, it's a little bit different story because price at this point is just trying to reach back up to this prior high. In the Dow and the SPX, we're trying to push up to new all-time highs, and we're not having much luck. I guess, you could argue in the Dow's got a little bit, about 500 points of upside to get to that prior high. But in the Nasdaq, clearly we've got some upside to get to that prior high. The Nasdaq continues to look more bullish to me. If I had to make a bullish bet on the equity markets, I'd bet on tech stocks next week. I wouldn't be in the Dow or the SPX, but I don't bet on the equities, so other than mining stocks. In Brent, we have the $70 level still acting as obvious resistance. What's that? 1, 2, 3. That was our fourth test last week, and another pullback. Would guess that price will ultimately push through that level, but the markets can do whatever they want to do. I've got a couple of mining stocks I want to look at. Alexco, we've talked a little bit about Alexco in recent weeks, and then I've been chatting in the comment section about Alexco. It's one of the U.S. listed silver stocks that I really like. Alexco got a sweetheart deal from the Yukon government on a district scale silver deposit. The history, just so we understand what the story is, back in 1989, silver prices and gold, the prices were falling, and so the previous owner of this silver district basically bailed, and they didn't clean up the mess. They left it for whoever to clean up. Taxpayer, I guess. And so anyway, in whatever year it was, 2010s, I believe, somewhere in there, 2006, there it is. 2006, Alexco basically won or was granted this mineral deposit by the government because Alexco has history of remediating environmentally impacted areas. And so this is a historic mining district. It was mined for, 76 years. And so, I mean, mining is it's a messy industry. And so 70 years of mining, it's not surprising that there was a mess that needed to be cleaned up. Alexco is coming in, they're cleaning up the mess, but they're also mining the silver. And so this was a really good deal for Alexco. And this was high grade. So there were 35 mines. Historically, there were 35 mines on this land package, and it was high grade. There it is, 44 ounces per ton. That's a very, very rich high-grade silver. So sweetheart deal that Alexco got on this property, and it's a good property. There's already a mill in place. Alexco is coming back into production. I think they're targeting 2022 for production. So that's part of the interesting story at Alexco. Technically, the stock is looking real nice. We're in the weekly time frame. Obviously, energy is elevated and rising sharply. MACD is in bull mode on a buy signal. We got a little bit of an uptick in accumulation distribution. It appears that investors are getting a little bit more interested in this stock in recent weeks and months. Obviously, last week we got a nice pop in price. We've still got price doing this gentle climb up the lower median line of this Andrews Pitchfork. So in the technical action, Alexco is looking nice. That's the property. They have other properties as well. They're not a one-trick pony. This is from their corporate presentation, and it's just talking about the Keno Hill Silver District. So high grade primary silver miners. So silver miners are becoming rarer and rarer. Gold mining is much more profitable as a business than silver mining. So even the traditional silver miners like Pan American and Silver Resources, First Majestic even, they're shifting towards gold because it's more profitable. And so anyway, primary silver miners are becoming rarer and rarer. And so having 80% of their revenues from silver, that's a big deal for Alexco. This area that they're in, so not only did they get a historic silver mineral deposit at a sweetheart deal from the Yukon government, the government is serious about helping miners produce in this area. And so power is readily available, highway access, we've got deep water ports, we've got airports. The Yukon government has poured, last time I saw the numbers, it was $225 million into infrastructure to support not only mining, there are other resources in this area. But Alexco is well positioned to benefit from the government largesse in this area. Growth potential, obviously they have a large land package that is not fully explored by any means. They have a 25,000 meter drilling program underway for 2021, a new resource statement in planning. They already have an existing resource estimate. It's 1.1 million ounces of silver, I believe. That's just off the top of my head. So they already have a known resource and planning to increase that with their drill program. So take a look at Alexco. Again, it's a U.S. listed primary silver miner. Those are very few and far between. At $3 a share, I like this company for fundamental reasons. Another reason I like it is because it is cheap. When retail investors move into mining stocks, I expect a swell of indiscriminate buying. Retail investors are not going to do their due diligence. They're just going to go buy anything that looks like a gold or silver stock. And so a stock at $3 a share is likely to get bid up quite a bit, regardless of its fundamental value. So let's keep rolling here. Avino, this is another U.S. listed silver miner. I was pleased. I looked at corporate presentation recently. They've increased their 2021 drill program from 10,000 meters up to 30,000 meters. They've got a large land package. I think it's 1,100 hectares, something like that, largely unexplored. So Avino does have some upside potential, decades in production. They've been a producing silver miner for 50 years, longer, I think, since the 1950s. And again, the point about being cheap, if this swell of retail money comes into the miners, a silver miner at $1.30 a share is not going to stay $1.30 for long. We can see that just recently when the buy silver campaign, this stock popped up to almost $3 very quickly. We're in the weekly time frame here. So Avino is another one that I like. I picked up a little bit more Avino last week, rounding out my portfolio. Lion One, they tried to make another bullish pop last week and then obviously dropped back, testing that $1 level again. What's going on? Lion One, they've got a large alkaline gold system in Fiji, and Fiji is locked down hard, and I mean locked down hard. Non-essential businesses are closed. Mining is not considered an essential business, so all mining activities have stopped. Lion One has 6 drill rigs on site. As soon as the lockdown is relaxed, they'll be back on the property drilling. They've got a large drill program planned for 2021, so should be seeing lots of activity from Lion One this year. It's a great property if they can just get in there and access it. So, folks, that's all I got this week. Have a fantastic week going forward. It should be fun. Let's go look at the gold chart one last time. 1904. Go, baby, go.